Welcome, everyone. My name is Doug Stampley, and I'm the client care specialist here at Healing Families. And today I have a very, very special guest, Beth Fischer. Beth, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Doug. Thanks for having me on today so that we can talk about something that's really special happening, which is the launching of my first book.
I am so excited, Beth. I'm so
Yeah.
excited. And when is that launch date? Because I know everybody's like, I got to mark it on my
I
calendar.
know, I know, I know. This has been a year in the making, so I am finally ready. It's going to launch. The Kindle version is going to launch on January 14th. But what we're doing now is taking pre-orders for $9.99. It's good. The price is going to go up after January 14th. So we wanted to give everybody an opportunity to pre-order it for $9.99 today. But if they pre-order it, they're going to get a bonus, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. But before then, I think we're going to talk about the book.
We are. So thank you so much for joining in and listening. Beth, you and I have been having like these different segments. We're kind of going through the book chapter by chapter. So if you're listening, please search these other chapters because it's amazing. So what we've covered so far is part one of the book. And by the way, the book is on the other side of pain, healing after betrayal. So in this book, you've broken the book up into five parts. Part one was all about understanding what betrayal trauma is and really
Mm-hmm.
laying the foundation because it's so misunderstood. And a lot of people don't even understand that it's a real thing, correct?
That's absolutely correct. Betrayal trauma has only been recognized like as an actual traumatic event that an adult can experience for about 40 years. So all of the previous generations did not even know that betrayal trauma was a real thing. That's why previous generations, once betrayal was discovered, it just got swept under the rug and never talked about it again because that's the old method of dealing with it. But that method didn't understand that there's trauma here. Betrayal trauma is very, very real, but there's just not enough people out there that either know it and or are talking about it. I'm talking about it. I want people to understand that this is real. Betrayal trauma is real.
Yeah, I love this. And so part one laid that foundational understanding,
Mm-hmm.
both really important for betrayed partners and unfaithful partners to understand what's really going on. What are you really dealing with, and why do you feel stuck right now? So
That's right.
then we go into part two, and that's what we've been talking about now is part two is putting the right processes in place for true healing. And there's four chapters in this part two. In chapter seven, we talked about the betrayal trauma healing method, which was
Mm-hmm.
amazing. You're going to want to go search that because there's five components. And Beth basically created what she wished she would have had that would have saved her 3 years of hell. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what you've created. Then we talked about the betrayal trauma and its effect on the mind and body. And now that leads us up to chapter nine, which is how healthy boundaries help you heal. And I've heard you explain to people so much about healthy boundaries and the importance. And you have a famous saying in terms of boundaries
Mm-hmm.
without, and I'll let you finish it and then explain why chapter nine is so important.
It is so important. So this is what I say all the time, and I've never heard anybody else say this out there. And trust me, I watched every video, read every article on affairs and cheating and betrayal, and when I was going through this, nobody had ever said this to me. Boundaries without consequences are suggestions. And at the end of the day, that is the truest statement out there. So, as betrayed partners, boundaries are so important. But what happens is betrayed partners are given this information that boundaries are like these rules that you need to
Mm,
give your partner if you're trying to reconcile, right? Like you
yep.
must do this, you can't do that, you have to 5 minutes after and 10 minutes before, and right, it's like this list of rules. I don't want people to end up being police officers, teachers, counselors, parents, right? Because that doing rule based boundaries keeps the betrayed partner stuck in a role of a
Hmm.
police officer, of an accountability partner, of a parent.
Yeah.
Betrayed partners tell me that all the time. I don't want to be their mother. I don't want to be their father. I don't want to have a marriage with somebody that has to abide by rules. That's a parenting relationship.
Hmm.
So we need to, first of all, help betrayed partners understand that boundaries need to be based on what the betrayed partner needs,
Mm.
not on rules for somebody else. The
Yeah.
rules will happen naturally once the betrayed partner understands what they need. So, having boundaries based on needs, and I did a full course on this if people are interested in that. Choosing You Boundaries That Heal is the name
Hmm.
of the online course if betrayed partners want to watch that. But staying with boundaries, once a betrayed partner understands that they have needs, they need safety, they need emotional safety, physical safety, mental safety, maybe even spiritual safety. They need
Hmm.
safety. And they have to kind of look at their environment and go, what's stopping me from feeling emotionally safe? Oh, my partner's not doing any work. Oh, my partner is saying things like, when are you going to get over this? When are you going
Mm.
to move on? Right?
Yeah.
That's not contributing to safety for the betrayed partner. So this chapter is really important. They all are, but I love this chapter because it really helps betrayed partners understand boundaries from a whole new perspective.
Yeah.
And then it helps them understand that you need consequences. Because again, if you give somebody a boundary and there's no consequence if they break it or cross it, then all you were doing was asking them a favor.
Hmm.
That's it. That's all you were doing. And then you were leaving it up to them to decide whether or not they were going to follow through. I don't want that. There has to be consequences. There has to be some sort of a if then. I
Hmm.
need this. And if you are not capable of giving me this, then I can't stay. Or I need to fill in the blank. I need you to sleep in the garage. I don't know, whatever it is. So
Right.
that's what that course does. And that's what this chapter does. It helps betrayed partners understand what need based boundaries are and how to implement appropriate consequences.
So, Beth, as I'm listening to you say this, something just popped into my head, and I'm just super excited to get your thoughts on this. It seems to me like there's almost like a power dynamic shift
Mm,
when you go from rules-based boundaries to need-based boundaries, because when you're talking about the traditional approach to boundaries, it feels to me a little bit like you're trying to control someone else's behavior.
that's
You're
right.
almost taking responsibility for their behavior versus need-based boundaries is more like, no, I'm taking control of me. I'm focusing on my power. I'm taking back my power. I'm setting the boundaries. And then if those aren't met, I'm doing what's in my control.
That's
And
right.
then they're going to have to deal with the consequences of their own choices. So it really feels a lot like what you talked about in terms of the detachment process,
Mm-hmm.
where then there's like a piece of that where you're talking about like that allows that betrayed partner to then detach from all of those games and trying to control someone else's behavior. And it puts the focus back on them and their own healing journey, which then they can move forward in terms of their own healing journey. I'm just curious what your
That's
thoughts are
exactly
there.
right. That's exactly right. You know, when I give people rules, right, then what am I doing? I'm trying to control them. And we work with a lot of unfaithful partners. And that's what they'll say. They'll say, like, you know what? I mean, I feel like I'm a 5 year old being
Yeah.
told that I can and can't do A, B, and C, right? I don't want anybody to be controlled. I want people to be empowered, but empowerment comes through individual healing. And
Hmm.
that's why the betrayal trauma healing method focuses on individual healing first, not the couple, not the marriage, individual. I want unfaithful partners to get to the point where they're living a life of integrity
Mm.
and they want to willingly create safety for their spouse, the one that they have hurt. And then I want the betrayed partners to find that confidence, get rid of fears, get rid of the limiting beliefs holding them back so that they can stand firm and say, no, I'm not going to give you rules. I'm going to tell you what I need. And then if you choose to not give me what I need, then I'm going to make some decisions. That's empowerment. And
Hmm.
that's what this chapter is all about.